Alright, here we go. Part 2, questions and answers for Sweet 15, the movie. We'll be elaborating on each question a little bit as they are important and not just there just because. So here we go. Um, Answers. Number 1. What does Marta yell at the open market? Why does this cause such a panic? She yells La Migra, which means immigration in Spanish. This causes a panic because immigration would pick up any people they thought would be illegal immigrants and deport them. So hearing this in an open market while people are out would cause quite a stir because, again, this area of East LA is known for having high populations of Mexicans and Mexican Americans, a lot of which during this time of the late 80s were there illegally. So in order to avoid getting picked up, they would run off anytime they thought that there was any chance that they would get picked up by immigration. These immigration raids were very real. They happen often, oftentimes in workplaces or crowded areas, such as the market where people are known to congregate. Number 2, who is Mr. Jose? Mr. Jose is quite simply just a party planner. He happens to show up at the home and takes them through what he could do to help them to plan a party. Typically speaking, in a Mexican family, you wouldn't have a true party planner per se. Usually, somebody in the family who has experience with these parties would kind of take the lead and help plan it. Unless a family could really afford it, they wouldn't really hire an outside party planner. Either way, it's kind of a good way to break up a very serious moment in the movie. Number 3, where does Ramon work and why does he lie about this initially? Ramon works at an auto shop. He is embarrassed to tell Marta initially because he wants to impress her. He thinks that by telling her that he's got a business meeting and that he's got to run off, that he's going to seem cooler. But in reality, he works at an auto shop and he thinks that that's not possibly good enough to impress her. But as we see by her reaction when she gets into the car, she really doesn't seem to mind. Number 4, what does Jackie convince Marta to do to be more grown up? What is the mother's reaction when she finds out? Jackie convinces Marta to shave her legs. Mom is upset because she sees this as selfish because she's thinking about herself. This isn't a true way to show that she's an adult. Basically, just because she's doing things that an adult would do or a grown woman would do doesn't make her an adult herself. At least not yet. What is the father forced to do at work and why must he do this? The father is forced to tell the man that he is fired because they know he has fake papers. And the boss says, we know they're fake, they can't pass. This was very common during the era. People would try and buy fake documents all the time, hope to pass them off as real, in the hopes that they could stay in the country longer and work longer. People would pay a lot of money for them, but if they weren't good enough, then obviously they could be picked up and still sent away for having them. Why does the father want to go back to Mexico? Um, he wants to leave so that he's not forced to leave. At this point, he's kind of getting worried that there's a lot going on in the community with people getting picked up and getting deported. We're starting to figure out kind of what his secret might be, which we'll talk about at the end of this segment. And he wants to keep his pride intact. We see throughout the movie that the dad's a very prideful man. He thinks that he's, I guess, a little better than most of the other people who are dealing with this. He doesn't like to compare himself to them. He likes to hold himself in a higher standard, and he feels that if he's forced to leave, then he kind of loses his pride and his dignity, and he doesn't want that. Um, a lot of people answered here that he wants to start a business. That's secondary to this situation. He doesn't want to leave just to start the family business. He just figures that if they do have to leave while they're down there, they might as well start the business with the family. What is the significance of the father taking his cap off when he sees Jorge in public? This one's a little tricky. You kind of got to make some assumptions here, but most of us did a good job of answering this question right, so I'm very proud of that. Basically, when dad gets off the bus and he sees Jorge across the highway, and Jorge kind of shouts, "Hey, look, Dodgers," and he points to the same hat that the father's wearing, the dad doesn't want to be seen as associated with illegal people, with illegal immigrants. Again, he thinks he's better than the others, as he calls them, or that he's not a newcomer, that he's not just fresh in the country. He's been there. He's got his own house. He's getting promoted at work, so he feels that he's better than everybody else. So to avoid being included as being seen as a illegal person, he takes his hat off, stuffs it in his jacket, and keeps walking. What lie does Jackie make up as to why the party's canceled? She says that Martha's favorite uncle died and that's kind of a pretext as to why the party's canceled, as Marta runs off with Ramon once again. Number 9. At this point in the movie, we hear several references to the word or term papers. What does this mean in the particular situation? Just to clear it up, a lot of people for number 9 pick that, papers means you have papers that you're an American citizen. That's not necessarily the case. Not just an American citizen. There's different levels of what makes you allowed to be in the country, which we will discuss later. But basically, what it means is legal documents proving that you are legally able to live and work in the United States, but not necessarily citizenship. And the last question, what secret is the father hiding, and what must he do to solve this? Why is he hesitant? At this point in the movie, we figure out that the father's actually an illegal immigrant himself, although he's done everything to show that he's not. He must prove that he's worked continuously in the country since he's been here. He is also hesitant to do this because he's tried before and failed. He's afraid that this is all an immigration trap where he could end up being deported, and he doesn't want to take that risk. And this is, again, a process that we will discuss later on in the movie. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying the movie so far. Most of us are doing a good job of answering these accurately. Just keep a close eye for some of these questions that require more details. Good job so far, and we'll keep going.